Welcome to the Public Offender 100 channel. Like, share, and subscribe. Continue to support the page. Thank you guys for all the love and support. But let's get into this next video. I'm starting to find that reacting to the whatever this guy's show is, the Diary of a CEO or something like that. He has interesting guests on there, and they have fairly interesting conversations, like pretty consistently. So I'm digging the content from that aspect. Uh, he's not the most educated person, nor am I, but he's not, you know what I mean? Like, when I feel like I like to listen to people who are like really interesting, and I don't think like he's that interesting. But sometimes he has interesting exchanges with people who are probably more interesting than he is. And this was one of them. This was definitely one of them.
Do you know, Stephen, who is by far the most dangerous individual that a woman will ever meet in her life? Whether it's the Yanomamo tribe in the Amazon, whether it's the Hadza tribe in Central Africa, whether it's in ancient Greece 2,000 years ago, or whether it's in Detroit, Michigan 2,000 years from now. Who is the most dangerous person by far that you will ever meet?
I would have answered this question in 0.2 seconds, but that's just me.
Let me think about this. Who's the most dangerous person she will ever meet?
By orders of magnitude more than anybody else. And the minute that I'll say it, you'll go, oh, no kidding. But the fact that you don't exactly demonstrates my point. And that's why evolution is so important.
I think the most dangerous person she will ever meet is another.
You're already off.
Okay, I don't know.
Her husband.
I was going to say, okay.
There you go.
I was very close because my brain.
No, you weren't. You weren't anywhere near. You didn't sound like you were anywhere near. You weren't going to say that. It's okay though. That's what my 8-year-old son does. He always says like, I was going to say that, when he like clearly wasn't going to say that, but it's all right. We love him anyway.
My brain went her future husband,
right?
Because I was thinking in the courtship.
No, that's stupid.
Process, that's quite dangerous.
Right. So whether it be her long-term partner or prospective long-term partner, right? Okay. So to your point, a husband is the most dangerous, and then the overwhelming.
I would say, of course, the husband and husband, boyfriend, father of a child, anything like that, and then second, I would say her biological father, in that order.
Number one reason that might drive him to domestic violence all the way to homicide is suspected or realized infidelity. Okay?
I'm a true crime addict.
So he said that the reason that men kill women is because the number one reason is because of suspected or realized infidelity. Now, that actually explains something that's been in my brain for a while, which is, why do men kill women or harm women or abuse women when they are pregnant, right? I've been trying to figure that out. And when he said that, it actually connected about the infidelity part, because I was like, okay, so she's pregnant and you think that the baby that's inside of her isn't yours. I'm not saying it's justified or anything, but I'm just like, okay, that would actually track to some extent as to why, they go, like, it just jumps up when a woman is pregnant. But the reason isn't that though, right? That's not the reason, because, okay, let's flip it around. If a woman were to find out that that while she's pregnant, she were to find out that her man was cheating, which a lot of men who are expecting children do, those women do not kill their men. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying they never do, but I'm saying, like, there's no like evidence or anything that points to like, oh man, when a woman is pregnant, she just, if she thinks you're cheating on her, she's prone to just, blow your shit up. Like, that's not really happening, So it obviously, to me, that's not the reason. The real reason is misogyny. Obviously, the real reason is a learned behavior in men. Having it from this perspective that it is natural or that it's nature, to me, is very off-putting. Now, I'm not as nearly as educated as his doctor is, and I can be completely wrong about this. I haven't done these studies, like, I'm sure all that stuff. I'm just saying, though, I still have discernment for myself, and stuff has to make sense for me to believe it. You could tell me you did a study on X, Y, and Z, but it still has to make sense for me to adopt it into my own thought process. And right now, I'm not really capable of adopting it into my own thought process, because it doesn't seem like that's the reason. The reason isn't because of suspected or confirmed infidelity in my mind.
And the stat is always in these true crime shows that I think it's 70% of the time when a woman goes missing or was murdered, it's the husband.
Exactly.
Something crazy like that.
Exactly. So. Now, sometimes in those shows, it's because I want to get rid of my current wife so I can run off with another one.
Yeah.
Bingo. That's what I would think the number one reason was. Once again, not saying he's wrong, because I haven't done the study. I'm watching this video, for the first time with you guys right now. I did watch it. I went through it before, of course. I got to check everything out. But I'm watching this video. I haven't seen this study. I watched the podcast earlier today. I don't know. I'm with this. I want to make it abundantly clear. I am not well versed in this, right? I'm just going on what I already know about men and women, right? And plus, my own logic and my own critical thinking abilities. And thus far, I am not convinced by anything this man is saying. Thus far.
But notwithstanding that potential effect, usually when I go into homicidal rage, it's because I am concerned that either you have cheated on me or
it's because you hate women.
Actually, I have proof that you have cheated on me.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, why have human males evolved the cognitive, emotional, and behavioral repertoire?
Because they hate women.
To respond in this way. Again, you're not justifying it. You're not saying, oh, if I give you the scientific...
You're rationalizing it. You're not justifying it, but you're rationalizing it.
Explanation, that means it's okay to beat women. But the reason is because we are a biparental species. Human dads are extraordinary dads in the mammalian context. We're by far one of the most vested dads. Now, we don't invest as much as human females, but we are really super dads.
Let's listen to that part again. I found that part to be interesting.
Because we are a biparental species, human dads are extraordinary dads in the mammalian context. We're by far one of the most vested dads. Now, we don't invest as much as human females, but we are really super dads.
So women are the standard when it comes to parent. This is what I have been screaming to men, right? You guys all know, anybody watching my content, you guys all know that that's what I say all the time. I get pushback all the time from bitter baby daddies and miserable men talking about, no, men can raise babies better. Men are and I always say, no. My standard is my wife. My standard is a woman. My standard is a mother. My standard is never a father, right? Him calling us super dads compared to other mammals, also dangerous. Also dangerous. A lot of what he's saying is, to me, it's very dangerous. They call him the canceled professor. I'm gonna look this guy up. I should have looked him up before, but now that I'm seeing all of this come together, I can see why he's canceled. This is crazy. This is really dangerous. The rhetoric he's saying right now, very dangerous, very disturbing stuff here.
So therefore, your ancestors and mine, Stephen, male ancestors, don't come from a line where they said, hey, don't worry, ladies, have at it with the sexy gardener as much as you'd like, because I'd be happy to then spend the next 18 years raising Geno's kids. And therefore, we've evolved that system to try to thwart a fundamental danger to our genetic interest, which is paternity uncertainty.
Okay. Okay. He just said we are biparental, right? And he's saying that we have evolved, his words, quote unquote, this mechanism or um this strategy of killing our women if we suspect or if it's confirmed that she, if that baby isn't ours, right? To protect our, what do you say? Our what do you call it? Paternal
Fundamental danger to our genetic interest, which is paternity uncertainty.
paternity uncertainty. Okay. Now, that's evil. First and foremost, killing a baby is evil. Killing a woman is evil. Secondly, killing a person for most reasons are evil. Secondly, though, once again, I'll bring it back to the women. So we're biparental, right? We're biparental. We need the other parent. That's what he's saying. We're biparental. The other parent should be there. A woman is pregnant. She's vulnerable. We live in a capitalist society. All the pressures of that come along with that. That pregnant woman, who men love to say is irrational and hormonal and all of that stuff, she finds out her husband is cheating, because that happens all the time. Way more than that pregnant woman cheated on the man. Even prior to her becoming pregnant. And but that pregnant woman doesn't kill that man. I wonder why. I wonder what is the difference between how men view women and how women view men. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Wouldn't that be odd?
There is no such thing as maternity uncertainty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I read that book with such
basically that's mama's baby, papa's maybe. That's what he just
complicated phenomena that are explained so elegantly, so parsimoniously, so simply, so that you go, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That was my eureka moment. And so evolutionary behavioral science is exactly what I just described the last 5-10 minutes, which is taking the evolutionary biological and evolutionary psychological lens to study human phenomena.
Before we get back to talking more broadly, just came to mind that with that context in mind, then cheating is justifiable.
Cheating in a romantic relationship?
Yeah.
So it depends when you say justifiable, you're falling into the trap of, if you explain it scientifically, it's okay. We also have a moral compass that's due to an evolutionary mechanism. So one of the difficulties of life.
So if we have this moral compass, that is that's not natural. That's not nature, right? But we have a moral compass. Then doesn't that mean that we are socialized to think a certain way? We're socialized to behave a certain way based on our moral compass, right? Like that's what the moral compass is. It's basically the socialization of, things that we think are right and wrong. How can you acknowledge that and then simultaneously say that men are killing women because of perceived infidelity or confirmed infidelity? Wouldn't our moral compass point us in the opposite direction? Shouldn't it? I don't know.
Is how to navigate through the Darwinian strings that are pulling me in different directions, right? I've evolved a desire to gorge on fatty foods. But if I do that in an unrestrained manner, I become a sumo wrestler and I die of heart disease at 42. So I've also evolved the mechanism of self-control. So the fact that I explained why it might make evolutionary sense to cheat doesn't mean I'm justifying it.
Yeah, no. And I think this is really important because we have to give people a toolkit to think about this conversation so that they don't assume that everything that's being said is an endorsement of the thing.
It's not an endorsement, but like if these dudes, Dr. Gat, whatever, if he understands this as well as he's, coming off like he does, like from a scientific standpoint, and he's just talking, like, there's no need to bury this. It's science, right? I get it. But what I'm saying is that he's not giving any other context. And I think that's the dangerous part. Like I said, if you want to say this and say from a scientific standpoint, this thing creates a certain anxiety, it triggers something in men, and that's why men do X, Y, and Z. Okay, but the reason why I think it's so rampant is because of misogyny, so on and so forth. And yeah, that, like, now we're talking, right? But he's not doing that. He's just leaving it as a standalone thing. And in the climate we're in and the lack of education that most people have, I feel like you're doing a disservice by talking about it in this way with little to no nuance at this point. Little to no nuance. As it, you know what I mean? Like these incels are going to take this and they're going to gobble this up. So I don't know, man. I don't like it.
It's just an explanation of the thing through the lens of evolution. And and you know what? Some people can't do that. Some people get so triggered by...
Those people are called my colleagues.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's right.
So I just hope everyone listening now knows that everything here isn't an endorsement of a thing. It's an evolutionary explanation for a thing. And,
Perfect.
I'm sure we're both full of biases. So nothing is ever that pure.
Exactly.
But we'll try and just hope that from here on out, people understand that. When I ask that question about cheating, what I'm trying to understand is, through an evolutionary perspective, is monogamy a normal thing?
I'm off and running for the next 10 minutes. You ready?
I'm ready. Let me give a little bit of context here.
Please.
So I've got a lot of male friends, and I see, in all honesty, the full spectrum of relationships. I've got, and this is kind of how I'll describe it, I've got a cohort of male friends that are absolutely faithful, in great relationships, committed to their partners, and have exercised what I assume is a form of discipline to not go after any temptations that they might have. Love that group of friends, great. I have this middle group of friends that are struggling with all kinds of forces, everything from pornography to maybe dabbling. And then I have this other group of friends who I would categorize as the cheaters, who cheat almost uncontrollably on their partners, uncontrollably. And this is, the spectrum of friends here is about 20 people. Now, I look at that group of friends and I go, who is right? Because morally, I can say the ones over here are hurting people. The cheaters are hurting people, especially if they're found in what they're doing. But who is right from an evolutionary perspective?
Well, they all are, in a sense, in that we all have the desire to stray, but we don't necessarily instantiate that desire.
We all have the desire to stray. I don't think scientists would say that. Right? Like, I don't think scientists would say that. We all have the desire to stray. That doesn't sound very scientific. Maybe, he didn't mean it in the literal sense, but I don't know. No, and I disagree. I do think that he just said, once again, it sounded like a contradiction. We are biparental, parental, right? That's what he said. I don't know. That was the word he used, parental, I think. We need two parents. Why would nature set it up in such a way that we need two parents, but then also it be natural for people to not be monogamous? Unless we're not, because we're biparental. That's what I'm saying based on what he said. It's very contradicting to me.
Through overt behavior.
Men and women?
Yeah, so that's very good. So usually if I were to say, men have evolved a desire for sexual variety, most people, even if they know nothing about evolution, would say, yeah, that makes sense. But now here's the interesting part. Women too have evolved a very strong desire for sexual variety. Now, not to the same degree as men. So there have been studies that have been conducted across a bewildering number of cultures. And in every culture that's been documented, men are much more likely to want more sexual partners and so on. But that doesn't mean that women are Victorian chaste prudes. So now let me give you multiple lines of evidence that suggest that women are hardly the Victorian prudes that we might otherwise wish they were in a Victorian novel. You know when a woman is most likely to cheat situationally?
I know because I've read your work. So
okay. So I'll say it, or do you want to say it?
Well, it's when they're maximally fertile, isn't it?
Very good. You've done your homework. Yeah. So when they are maximally fertile is when they're most likely to stray. Now that strategy, by the way, and they're less likely to insist on contraception. You would think that if I'm cheating outside my marriage, I'm speaking as a woman now, if I'm cheating outside my marriage, I would want to increase the likelihood of using protection because I don't want to be pregnant. But if the strategy for why I'm cheating is because I'm shopping for superior genes, then it becomes incumbent that I don't use protection, right? So you seldom have a woman who will cheat with a guy who is of lower phenotypic quality, genetic quality. So I would love to have Bill Gates as home as my long-term partner, but then I want the male Olympic swimmer as the guy behind the bushes. Now, if I can convince Bill Gates that the Olympic male swimmer actually looks a lot like Bill Gates and it's really yours, sweetie, it's you, Billy, you're the one then I won as a woman, I've won the genetic.
Yeah, I'm not buying any of this shit. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that shit at all. That's just me. I'm out. Yeah, I've heard enough from this guy. This is crazy.
Lottery game. Okay. So it's not that women are not interested in sexual variety. So that's one. Here's another one. If you map.
And I'm not saying that either. Of course, there are a lot of women that are interested in sexual variety. That's crazy to think women aren't. But naturally, we're not supposed to be wearing clothes. But my the social anxiety I have about walking around naked, I don't even, if it's in me, I don't even feel the feeling of wanting to not wear clothes. You know what I mean? Like wanting to be nude in public, just like it does. Like I never get the urge because I'm so socialized into like, nope, clothes is the way. So it's clear to me that any of this stuff he's talking about could easily be we are socialized to be this way or socialized to not be that way. That's what I'm saying. Like, I haven't heard anything that he said to make me be like, oh man, this is just nature and evolution. Like most of the shit he's saying, I'm like, nah, this sounds more like we're socialized to be this way. Because he's saying things that contradict one another.
Out. This is from studies, I think it was in the early 80s. I don't have the exact reference, but it's easy to find.
Sorry, just in your work, you say that women are more likely to cheat with someone who has good genetic stock.
Yeah.
Is Bill Gates not got good genetic stock because he's rich and smart?
Yes. So the intelligence element is yes. Maybe the drive element is yes. But the phenotype is a no.
What's the phenotype?
Phenotype is your physical manifestation, right?
Okay.
So if I say I want a guy who is tall, who has a V, who's got testosterone jawline, right? I mean, I don't usually, if I'm a woman, I don't in my deep recesses of my mind fantasize about being ravished by Bill Gates.
But
do I?
Are those physical features just...
Dude, look at he's really... Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Pointing at the fact this person can provide for me.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, and you're saying, but Bill Gates already provides. Yeah, but there's also what's called the sexy son hypothesis. Bill Gates will not produce. I mean, he'll produce kids who potentially, to the extent that intelligence is heritable, will give me intelligent kids, but he won't give me the kids that are brawny, right? And of course, some of us are lucky to have both brawn and brains. But
so, once again, if we are in a world where we don't really have the need for like to be brawny anymore. Like we got robots, we got tools, we got computers. Shouldn't we evolve? Shouldn't women not care about a man with broad shoulders and a testosterone jaw? Like, why aren't we evolving that way? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's so convenient that it's like, yeah, women just like attractive dudes, conventionally attractive dudes that have this, that are buff and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, but that's not, yeah. Yeah. I think that would actually that would actually make sense to me too, because you know, about 1 out of 5 women have cheated or cheat, right? So it's about 20% of women cheat. That's a high number, relatively speaking, but not really. You know what I mean? Not compared to men, right? But okay, I could believe that. I could believe that 1 out of 5 women are like, you know, like it really invested in like physical and all of that stuff. But 80% of women don't care about that much. Right? Doesn't mean that they're just gonna marry any Ugmo who, you know, is nice to them. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like the way that he's framing this, it feels like and sounds like women should have already evolved past this. And it seems like they have, because 80% of women don't be getting with dudes. He said women, the majority of women who cheat with this type of man, you know, who are physically whatever, have high physical stock, right? But the majority of women, the vast majority of women don't cheat. So overall, what are you talking about? Like 15% of women? It could be anywhere between 11 to 12 to 11 to you know, whatever, over 11%. Like it's not like, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like if women are so invested in the brawny and all of that, why don't they get with that guy initially? Oh, maybe because they've evolved past that already. So I don't know. I don't know. Why is he not speaking about the masses of women?
But that's the
That's a
rarity.
very kind compliment.
Now,
Thank you.
now, imagine if I were 4 inches taller. Then, I mean, that's it. I would be crowned emperor. No, but in all seriousness, both men and women are very duplicitous in their sexual behavior. So the idea that monogamy is natural is not true. Now, it is natural in that about 85% of documented cultures have monogamy as an institutional mechanism because we're a biparental species. And almost all the other ones have what's called polygyny, which is a term not to be confused with polygamy. So I'm going to do a little parenthesis and I'm going to come back to the lines of evidence that proves that women like sexual variety as well. So polygamy just means one to many. People use it as synonymous with one man, multiple women, but that's not what polygamy is. Polygamy is one to many, which can take 2 forms. It could be one man, multiple women, which is called polygyny, or it could be one woman, multiple men, which is called polyandry. There are almost no societies where institutionally we have polyandry, because it wouldn't make evolutionary sense for that mating system to arise. The only famous case of polyandry is called Tibetan fraternal polyandry.
The other way doesn't really make sense either. And that's why the XX chromosome did what it did and, you know, created the XY chromosome, or that mutation happened to, you know, so that we can diversify the gene pool, right? So like the other way doesn't make sense either. To have, because what I'm saying is to have like one man populating, you know what I'm saying? Like having babies with like 70 women, like that doesn't make sense either. That's a weak ass gene pool. Because that one man probably don't got the best. I'm sorry, this doesn't make sense. I'm not a biologist, obviously. I'm not well educated in any of this stuff. But I can smell bullshit, I feel like. And this smells like bullshit. It reeks of bullshit.
So the word fraternal means that to the extent that there are ecological reasons why we have to tolerate one woman going with multiple guys, it'll be brothers. And the reason for that is because of a mechanism called inclusive fitness, which is that I can increase my reproductive fitness through direct reproduction. I have children and therefore they will share half my genes, but I can also invest in the children of my siblings who share also genes with me, and I could still be increasing my inclusive fitness. So therefore, polyandry need not be a Darwinian dead end, because I'm still extending my genes even in such a system.
If you love the diversity,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? I think that all of that was a crock of shit for the most part. I could be wrong. I'm willing to hear it. Anybody, you know, please stitch this video, whatever you guys want to do. Put it in the comments. You know, I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. But to me, I call bullshit on that whole thing. Like, the more I listened to it, the more I became kind of enraged, and I see why people have canceled him. But I'm going to check him out. I'm going to check him out. His name is Gad Saad, Gadsaad. That's how you spell his name, but we'll see. All right, peace.